A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome. Today, joining with me, Brother Sanwad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Sanwad, today is Eid Mubahila. We'll get in more into what Eid Mubahila is and what the event of Mubahila was. But let's just start off with a question here. What is Eid to you?
Well, Eid is, of course, a celebration. Specifically, when you think of Eid, you think of Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Fitr, of course, is the Eid coming after the holy month of Ramzan. Eid al-Adha after Hajj. Specifically today, Eid Mubahila came after what was seen as an important victory for the Muslims. So Eid is basically just a celebration of a joyous event.
Very good, Brother Sanwad. Very, dictionary type.
Yeah.
Dictionary type, yes. So Eid, of course, is a cause for celebration. We actually had an Eid not too long ago, like a week ago, I think, for Eid al-Ghadir, yes. Yeah. And I believe you made a show on that as well.
Right.
But, why is Eid Mubahila important in Islam?
Eid Mubahila, without getting into the main details of what happened, I think it shows the significance of the Ahlul Bayt. And of course it was, like I mentioned, a victory for the Muslims, a very great victory for the Muslims. And it just shows an emphasis on who we see as our guides. I think that's the main thing that it shows, the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us to follow, to look up to. It really shows the example of that.
Absolutely. I would just like to, also add in that another significant thing about Eid Mubahila is, it kind of shows you the other religions kind of, stepping down when it comes to Islam. Let's just get into the first thing. What was the event of Mubahila? Brother Sanwad, can you kind of give us a little info on that?
So the background of the story of Mubahila comes from some letters that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after the conquest of Makkah, the Prophet would send letters around the different areas to, the different Christian communities and try to invite them to religion of Islam. And he basically gave them the option that either, join the religion of Islam or pay a tax to the Muslims in exchange for, their protection. And so this event of Mubahila involves Christians of Najran. It's involved with some of the fundamental beliefs they have, specifically the belief of Prophet Isa alayhi salam being the son of God. It's one of the main arguments that the event of Mubahila is really involved around.
Also known as Jesus. Yes, one of the main events of Eid Mubahila is that, it shows the difference between, it kind of distinguishes Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Okay, this is not the Son of God. Of course, that is already highly predicated in Islam, but it kind of shows the Christians why it's not right, and also adds facts and reasonings.
Right.
Can you also tell us the story of Mubahila, Eid Mubahila? Because when you think about it, Eid Mubahila, the event itself, is a very important pillar in Islam.
So the Christians, when they received this invitation, they knew that they had to respond to this. So they gathered some of their main scholars, it was said, and they went to visit the city of Medina to have a debate with the Holy Prophet. And when they got to the city of Medina, one of the main aspects that was mentioned was that when they entered into the mosque where the Prophet was, they were wearing these fine clothes, for example, silk, and they were wearing gold. And when they got in and they went to meet the Prophet wouldn't speak to them. And they were kind of shocked by this. They were like, we came all this way to have a debate with the Prophet, and the Prophet won't speak to us. And so, as they were, leaving the masjid, one of the companions went up to them, and they said, well, I think the reason why the Prophet isn't speaking to you is because of the clothes that you're wearing. Silk and gold, and that wear simpler clothes, and then the Prophet will speak to you. The Prophet spoke to them. And I think another aspect here that really shows the fundamentals of what the religion of Islam is the Christians actually wanted to pray. And so they said, okay, we're going to go out, we want to go outside so that we can offer our prayers. And the Prophet told them, well, why are you going to do that? This is a place of prayer. Why don't you pray here? So it really shows how Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance towards all of the different religions. Whatever differences we have, for example, at the end of the day, there are still some things in common in that we see through the example of the Prophet how he treated other groups with dignity and with respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Islam has, not only tolerance, but also, kind of peace with the other religions.
Right.
Of course, they don't share the same beliefs. I mean, that doesn't turn Muslims into Christians, right? It just, it shows that they have, tolerance beliefs. They're not going to try to force their beliefs upon them, but they're also not going to, be disrespectful towards their religion.
Right.
And, they'll kind of, give them that religious freedom.
Continuing with the story, the Prophet was then asked, when it got to the debate between them, the Prophet was asked, well, what is your opinion on Jesus? And the Prophet replied that, Jesus is my brother and Jesus is a messenger of God. And the Christians were really insulted by this, because as we know, there's a huge difference between how we see Prophet Isa alayhi salam as a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the 124,000 messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how the Christians see him as, the Son of God, of course. The Prophet then replied that, because one of the main arguments, as you know, Brother Ali, is that because Prophet Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, did not have a father, and he was able to perform all of these amazing miracles, for example, curing the blind, all of these incredible miracles that the Christians saw, therefore his father must be God. So, with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the main argument that was brought forth was that to look to another prophet. Prophet Adam alayhi salam was put on this earth by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet Adam has neither a father nor a mother. So naturally, Prophet Adam must have an even higher position than Prophet Isa alayhi salam, because he did not have a father or a mother. This discussion that they were having, this debate, it was more of a debate, of course, not a discussion. It got to a point where it was basically a stalemate, because of course they didn't agree on this, they didn't agree on that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse in the Quran. The verse was meant to show that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they should have a Mubahila. Now a Mubahila is like, I guess you could describe it, Brother Ali, as a mutual cursing, really. It's praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the blessings from the other person. Whoever the wrong group, whoever is the group that is lying about this, remove the blessings from them. And so that is what this entire event revolves around, is this verse that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed down and gave the command that they should have a Mubahila to see who is telling the truth. Our sons and your sons, and our women and your women, and ourselves and yourselves, to have a Mubahila, as the verse quotes.
So this verse was revealed after they couldn't agree upon, because after that it was just basically, as you were saying, in your words, a stalemate.
Right.
Where they,
to see who was lying, to settle the debate.
So they were praying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would curse the liars, and it would.
Well, actually, what happened is actually quite interesting, because they decided to do this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the Prophet that this is what should be done. And so they said, well, okay, it'll be done tomorrow. So the next day, we will have this Mubahila. And specifically, what I found to be very interesting was that the Christians went to their scholars and they told them, okay, well, this is the ideal, we're going to have a Mubahila. And the scholars told them that, okay, if the Prophet comes tomorrow to the Mubahila with a large group of his companions, then we will be the winners. It'll be easy that the Christians will easily win, because the Prophet, he brought a huge group of people with him, and it'll show that he's not truthful. But if the Prophet comes with a small group of his close relatives, his blood relatives, then call it off, because this would really hurt Christianity. It's clear that they would lose the Mubahila if the Prophet came with a small group of his companions. And so this is the stage really that was set, that the next morning they would have the Mubahila.
So what you're saying is that in this time period, although Islam was gaining ground, they were saying, if he's truthful, if he brings his close relatives, because that shows, his willingness, that he, even if he thought there was a speck of impurity in any of them, that he wouldn't have brought them.
It's even more intriguing when we, get later into the story and you see who the Prophet brought with him. Some of the people the Prophet brought with him. I think just looking at it from a, of course, as Muslims, you have a certain understanding of different personalities and different things. But just as a regular person looking into this story, seeing who the Prophet brought with him to this such a, extreme event, such an important event, specifically in the religion of Islam, it's really interesting to look at.
We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with you.